On November 24, 1971, a man boarded a short domestic flight and never officially arrived anywhere, and what makes this unusual is not that he vanished, but how calmly it happened and how easily the world allowed it. He bought a one-way ticket under the name Dan Cooper, paid in cash, checked no luggage, and boarded a 30-minute flight from Portland to Seattle on an ordinary afternoon just before Thanksgiving. Passengers later described him in almost identical terms. A man in his mid-40s, wearing a dark suit, a white shirt, a black tie with a small tie clip, neat, composed, unremarkable in every way that matters. He took his seat, lit a cigarette, and ordered a bourbon and soda, and nothing about him suggested urgency, distress, or improvisation. Shortly after takeoff, he handed a note to a young flight attendant. She didn't read it at first, and that detail matters, because it shows how unthreatening he seemed. She assumed it was a phone number or a comment and tucked it away. Only when he leaned slightly toward her and quietly suggested she read it did she unfold the paper. The note said he had a bomb and would like her to sit by him. There were no dramatic phrases, no threats written in anger, no sense of panic. When she sat down, he briefly opened his briefcase just enough to show what appeared to be wires and cylinders arranged with care, then closed it again, not to frighten her, but to remove uncertainty. He told her what he wanted: $200,000 for parachutes and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. He spoke politely, even apologetically, as if aware he was interrupting a routine. The note was taken to the cockpit, where the captain read it once and did not argue. The airline president was contacted and authorized full cooperation immediately. The passengers were never told the truth. They were informed there was a mechanical delay, and that decision shaped everything that followed. No one panicked. No one resisted. No one rushed. The system did what it was designed to do when calm is prioritized above all else. When the plane landed in Seattle, the cash was delivered in a knapsack, the serial numbers carefully recorded, and the parachutes handed over. Cooper allowed all passengers to leave the plane, then allowed 2 of the flight attendants to leave as well. There was no strategic reason for this beyond courtesy. He kept only the crew he needed. During refueling, he outlined the next phase of the flight with precision, specifying the route toward Mexico, a refueling stop in Nevada, the speed, the altitude, and the configuration of the aircraft. He did not speak like someone inventing a plan under pressure, but like someone following a checklist they had already accepted. After takeoff, somewhere over the Pacific Northwest, he lowered the rear stairs of the plane, something commercial aircraft were never meant to allow in mid-flight. The crew felt a shift in the cabin, subtle but unmistakable. When the plane landed in Reno, he was no longer on board. There was no note, no farewell, no evidence of struggle, just the absence of a man who had been there moments earlier. Search teams combed forests, rivers, and mountains where he was believed to have jumped. No parachute was found. No remains were recovered. The conditions suggested survival was unlikely, yet there was no proof of death either. The case remained open for years, producing sketches, suspects, and theories, but over time something else happened: the urgency dissolved. Not because the mystery was solved, but because it stopped demanding attention. The passengers were safe, the crew survived, the airline continued operating, and no further harm occurred. The system had already adjusted. In 1980, a child found packets of the ransom money buried along the banks of the Columbia River, the serial numbers matching those recorded years earlier. The bills had degraded, suggesting they had not been spent, and this discovery should have reignited the investigation, but instead it softened the mystery. If the money wasn't used, perhaps the man didn't survive. If he didn't survive, perhaps there was nothing left to find. Eventually, the investigation was closed, not because answers were found, but because continued effort was no longer efficient. Decades later, people still ask who he was, proposing suspects and analyzing wind patterns, parachute models, and behavioral clues, yet the most important detail is rarely examined. Cooper did not fight the system. He worked within it. He communicated clearly, followed procedures, remained calm, and behaved in a way that made cooperation easier than resistance. The system responded the way it always does when someone is polite, composed, and finished with what they are carrying. It helped him leave, and once he was gone, it closed the record and moved on. Most retellings focus on the jump, on whether he lived or died, but the quieter moment is the one before that, when a man sat calmly in a seat with a drink in his hand, having already decided he was not going to arrive. There was no breakdown, no spectacle, no demand to be understood, just a clean exit facilitated by a world that values order above questions. And that leaves one uncomfortable thought lingering beneath the mystery. In a system designed to resolve things quietly and efficiently, how many people disappear from their lives the same way, not by force or chaos, but by calmly deciding they are done carrying what they were never meant to carry alone? Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like for more amazing stories on our channel. See you soon.